Test. Test.
I hear you.
Great.
It was just a button.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see you. It's amazing. I've been away from the sanctuary from Sunday for a couple weeks, and wow, it's good to be back. You guys look great. I am Reverend Ellen Quaadgras, and I'm serving here at South Church in co-leadership with Kirsten Hunter, our Director of Lifespan Ministry, and in shared ministry with all of you. I want to welcome you this morning to this place of meaning and movement, a place to make meaning from the days and months and years of our lives, and a place that inspires movement in the soul, in our actions, in living our values, individually and collectively. This summer, we are exploring the theme of fresh air, and today, in this summer season, we will reflect on seasons of life and fresh understandings about the season we are in and fresh perspectives on the season toward which we are heading. As we live our collective values, let us begin by acknowledging the land upon which this sanctuary was built, which was once the territory of the Wabanaki and Pennacook nations. And like so many native people in this country, they did not cede this land and are a people for whom true justice and self-determination remain elusive. May we allow this truth to live in fresh ways in our hearts, lead us to ask fresh questions about what's going on, and imagine how to take fresh action on our collective UU values toward restorative justice and renewal. I invite you to take a look at our order of service, which lists all the wonderful people involved in making our service happen today, including here with me, our worship associate, Lissa Mascio, as well as Johnny Pfeiffer and Susan Adams and the South Church Choir. And as always, there's a whole crew behind the scenes who make worship possible week after week. Please note that after the children's story, all our young people are invited to attend religious education classes downstairs. Just follow Catherine Ericart and Kate Phelps. Are they here? Yes, there we go. Just follow out the middle aisle and down the stairs where the RE classes will be held. And everyone of every age is invited to join us in the fellowship hall downstairs after this, outside on the portico after the service for coffee, treats, and conversation. Please note, assisted listening devices and large print hymnals are available in the back of the sanctuary. Please ask an usher if you need assistance. Please silence any electronic devices that you may have with you. And it is now time for some announcements.
Good morning, everybody. Just a couple of announcements. I'm Jen, by the way, Congregational Administrator. Some of you are looking at me weird. I promise it's me. I know I look different. We can talk about it later. Just a couple things I want to point out. There is today a sign-up sheet going around. I believe it is outside during social hour to volunteer for the Pocket Garden Tour. There's a couple of positions for volunteers that we need left, so make sure you make a pit stop out at the table, find out what's needed, and sign up if you are available. Today, after worship, Reverend Ellen will be downstairs in the Emerson room having a discussion around poetry. She's putting together another poetry service this year, and you're invited to come down with a favorite poem or two, talk about why you love it. Meeting downstairs does not mean that you have to speak during the worship service, so if that's keeping you back, don't let it. She is open and willing to talk to anybody about poems downstairs, 11:45. And one last thing is that we are also going to do a hymn sing worship in August, and Reverend Ellen wants to hear from folks about what their favorite hymns are and why they're your favorite hymns. So you can send her an email with that information, and I believe that you want that by the 23rd, July 23rd. And I think that's all we've got. Lots of stuff going on. Make sure you check your order of service.
Good morning. If you're watching us remotely, I invite you to light your own candle at home while Reverend Ellen lights the chalice here in the sanctuary. And as we continue our July theme of fresh air with today's theme about aging, I bring you these words from Sophia Loren. There is a fountain of youth. It is your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring to your life and the lives of people you love. When you learn to tap this source, you will have truly defeated aging. Now, if you would all rise and join me in stating the mission statement of South Church, which is in your order of service and on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. I just celebrated my 45th birthday at the end of June, and I know to many of you here today that doesn't seem very old at all. I'm merely hitting middle age. But to me, it really feels like a big time of change and transitions, a turning point to another age and a phase of life. My daughter turned 18 this spring, and she's entering her senior year of high school and preparing to leave the nest, most likely all the way across the country to Arizona for college in a mere 12 months. This charming, challenging child of mine has consumed my world since the day I found out I was pregnant. So are these endings or beginnings? Should I be feeling a sense of loss or a sense of hope? Because I'm also applying to graduate school right now, preparing to start a master's degree in about 6 weeks after graduating from law school almost 2 decades ago. I figure I have at least another 2 or 3 careers in me. And I'm thinking about buying another house when she leaves for college, a home just for me, living alone again for the first time in almost 20 years. So these are new beginnings for sure. As author Rochelle R. Goodrich has said, the direction you choose to face determines whether you're standing at the end or the beginning of a road. Yet our society, so caught up in the glamour and endless youth of Hollywood and social media, seems intent on forcing us all to stay young, to dread or avoid aging, especially women. But in fact, some of these best things come with a bit of experience and knowledge. Should I be dreading that empty nest or looking forward to the freedom of not being directly responsible for another human being every day, running a household, planning meals, chauffeuring her around? Being a solo parent all of these years, a practicing attorney, and an active, engaged mom with a capital M has been exhilarating and gratifying, but it's also been utterly soul-suckingly exhausting much of the time. So I'm feeling a little bit of both, joy and sorrow, loss and hope. And I imagine myself in 20 or 30 or 40 years looking back on this period of change with wistfulness and gratitude. But I also hope that my daughter, as an adult, can look back on her childhood and see her single mom try and succeed and try and fail and try again. To be all of those things, survive all of the things, and then move on to other things. And that as I got older, she sees me as remaining brave and strong and beautiful, just the way I am. Emily Acker, in her book No Longer Broken, says, as long as you're still alive, you always have the chance to start again. Now, if you please rise and join me in the opening hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, in the gray hymnal.
We're going to sing this as a round, but don't be nervous. We're going to all start together, and then folks on the right, you're going to continue to sing with Kathy and Kim. Folks on the left, we're going to, after the first time through, we're going to pause, and when they get to number 2, if you're following along in the hymnal, we'll start again. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair.
Ours is no
Yet again,
caravan of despair. Come yet again,
whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair.
Ours is no
Yet again,
caravan of despair. Come yet again,
whoever you are, wanderer,
whoever you
leaving. Ours is no caravan
lover
of
of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
It's wonderful when we do something that's a little challenging and also really beautiful together. So I loved watching and witnessing and being part of that. So I would like to invite any of our young people or young at heart people to come forward for our time for all ages. Come on up. We have some beautiful spots here just for you. I hear the carpet is very comfortable. I haven't tried it too much myself. I'm going to stay standing for this one. But it's good to see you all here, up here. So our theme, as I mentioned, is fresh air, which can mean like open windows and a breeze blowing through, or it can mean open doors and some fans that are hopefully blowing something in our direction. I don't know. I can't totally feel it, but I'm going to try. So that's one definition of fresh air. Fresh air also sometimes is used to mean anything that you can feel on your skin or that makes you wake up and notice, makes you experience something a little freshly or understand something in a new way. And we're using the fresh air theme in that way today as we are in the middle of a summer season. So you all are between grades, like you finished one grade, and there's something you're going to for the next one. And for the adults among us, there's always new possibilities on the horizon. And that transition, that change from one age to the next can be like fresh air. Because as we get older, we learn new things, we see new things that we may not have known or seen before. So, and we can sometimes offer some of that fresh air to each other. Like when you've learned something in your life, you may share that with someone else from your experience as a younger person and then becoming an older person. So I'm going to show you a video to describe what I mean, and then I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions about what you have learned about the age that you are or the age that you've been that you might share with someone else. So let's start our video.
Dear 6-year-old, training wheels are for babies. Just let go already. Regards, a 7-year-old.
Dear 7-year-old, no matter what anyone says, stay weird. Signed, an 8-year-old.
Dear 8-year-old, find out your babysitter's weakness, then use it against them. Signed, a 9-year-old.
Dear 9-year-olds, don't get involved with the popular kids. They're narcissistic capitalists that know nothing about politics. Signed, a 12-year-old.
Dear 12-year-old, ask her to dance. Just trust me on this one. Signed, a 16-year-old.
Dear 16-year-old, don't let your mom throw away your Legos. Signed, an 18-year-old.
Dear 18-year-old, go easy on the makeup. You're not as ugly as you think. Love, a 19-year-old.
Dear 19-year-old, just because it's an all-you-can-eat buffet does not mean you need to eat all you can.
Your parents have better interest rates than your credit card. If he says he has a weekend home in the suburbs, he's married.
That rust protection undercoating, it's actually a great deal.
Whatever you do, never order the salad from a truck stop.
Back up your hard drive. Now.
I mean, who even does that?
Getting laid off can be a blessing in disguise.
Being a starving artist only works if you actually make art.
Always be kind to your family. You'll need each other when things get tough.
Stop panicking. Being a single mom is an incredible thing. I was 22. I had this little kid. I named him Vladimir. He's 14 now. He makes me proud. So,
Dear 36-year-old, stop caring so much about what other people think. They're not thinking about you at all. Signed, a 47-year-old.
Dear 47-year-old, a midlife crisis does not look good on you. Signed, a 48-year-old.
Dear 48-year-old, always tell the truth, except when it comes to your online dating profile.
dear 51-year-old, one cat is enough cats. Signed, a 53-year-old.
Dear 53-year-old, it's never too late to try something new. I've decided to take my husband's Corvette and go to racing school. If Paul Newman could do it, why can't I?
Dear 72-year-old, spend all your money. Otherwise, your kids are going to do it for you. Sincerely, an 85-year-old.
Dear 85-year-old, indulge your sweet tooth. You'll need dentures soon anyway. My late wife made the best apple pie that you could ever find. When she cut the pieces, she would cut small ones, and when she came to me, she would cut a big one.
Dear 88-year-old, cultivate younger friends. Otherwise, yours will all die off. Sincerely, 91 years old.
Dear 91-year-old, don't listen to other people's advice. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Signed, a 93-year-old. Just do your own thing. That's the way I say it.
All right, some good advice from a lot of people at a lot of ages. So I'm really curious if any of you have either received good advice or have good advice to share for someone who might be a younger person than you are. Do you remember things that any of you have learned at younger ages? I know it's kind of a tough question, actually. Oh, do you have an answer? You're telling someone else, you're saying someone else should have an answer. That's a kind of advice. Point to someone else and get them to answer. Yeah.
Be who you are and be proud of it.
Oh, I love that answer. That seems timeless for any age. Anyone else have a thought, or should we leave it with that because that's such a great, great takeaway from all of this? All right, we'll go with that. So let us sing our young people out and downstairs.
Every week at the Offertory, we each give what we're able to in order to support South Church, the building, the staff, congregants, and the greater community. In an effort coordinated by our social justice associates, each month we share that collection with a different nonprofit organization. This month, the collection will be shared with the National Alliance for Mental Illness New Hampshire, NAMI New Hampshire, which is a grassroots organization working to improve the quality of life for all by providing support, education, and advocacy for people affected by mental illness and suicide. I can personally attest to the great work that NAMI New Hampshire does, both professionally to their tireless advocacy for mental health education, supports, and services at the New Hampshire State House, as well as personally to their one-on-one supports and family services to those struggling with mental health issues across the state. To learn more, you can visit their website at naminewhampshire.org. You can donate in many ways today. If you happen to have some cash with you, feel free to use the collection baskets, which will be passed around momentarily. But if you, like me, rarely actually carry cash, you can also use our mobile app, VanCo. You can give via the donate link on our website, or you can send a check in the mail to our office at 73 Court Street. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Let us gather our hearts and minds in a spirit of prayer or meditation with these words adapted from Reverend Andy Pakula. It is good to recognize what is difficult in our world. Heat waves in this country, wildfires next door, Supreme Court decisions that may trouble us, ongoing attacks on GLBQT loved ones, and so many other things happening in our worlds, as well as individual difficulties any of us are facing right now on this day. It is also good to let in a wider view that might ground us or remind us and help us to hold both. Picture in your mind's eye tender green grass, clear blue sky, or the warmth of sunlight on your back. The loving touch of a friend, a cool breeze on your face, a kitten's meow, a baby's impossibly soft skin. Or forgiveness, peace, love. For these gifts and so many others, may we be grateful. Reminders that the world that surrounds us always includes something wonderful, everywhere accessible. Let us find a wide and inclusive truth. Let us embrace life whole. Amen. In this moment, made sacred by our collective witness here in the sanctuary and online, I now invite you to light a candle here or at home for whatever sorrows or joys you are holding today. As the music plays, please feel free to come forward. And please remember, if you are going through a difficult time, I am here, Kirsten is here, your pastoral associates are here for you. If you need us, please fill out a card in your pew, and you can place that on the card table at the front or hand it to me or a pastoral associate after the service. We are here for you. I now invite you to light a candle of joy or sorrow that is in you today.
This is a poem called Directions by Connie Wanek. First, you'll come to the end of the freeway. Then it's not so much north on Woodland Avenue as it is a feeling that the pines are taller and weigh more. And the road, you'll notice, is older with faded lines and unmown shoulders. You'll see a cemetery on your right and another later on your left. Sobered, drive on. Drive on for miles if the fields are full of hawkweed and daisies. Sometimes a spotted horse will gallop along the fence. Sometimes you'll see a hawk circling, sometimes a vulture. You'll cross the river many times over smaller and smaller bridges. You'll know when you're close. People always say they have a sudden sensation that the horizon, which was always far ahead, is now directly behind them. At this point, you may want to park and proceed on foot, or even on your knees.
I sat down with the worship associates late last month to talk about fresh air, our summer worship theme. What does it mean to you was a question. Where does it take you? What have you learned from that place? This was the memory that came to me. It's 2017. I am on Star Island. It is 4:55 a.m. in the morning, and I am sprinting. At that hour, the bluish-gray pre-dawn light is just enough to see the roots and the rocks as I danced my way around them toward the back of the island, to the cliffs, the crashing waves, and a clear view of the horizon. Finally, slightly out of breath, I stepped out onto an outcropping facing east, and I sat down, 4:59 a.m., just in time. I had received an email earlier that week from my mom at 11 a.m. Dutch time, which is 5 a.m. Eastern. My family would be gathered at one of my favorite places in the world, the seaside town of Zandvoort. They were there to be with my 86-year-old aunt, whose health had been failing precipitously and who had chosen that time to die with dignity, in peace, surrounded by family. I could not be there in body, but I wanted to be there in spirit, so I sat myself down with my aunt in my heart and the sea all around me, saying goodbye, remembering. That was the fresh air snapshot I shared with that group, this memory of being near the wind and the waves, this memory of my aunt who was herself fresh air to me. This memory of time spent with her and her family and mine at this seaside town on the coast of the Netherlands in the salty air, flags flapping in the wind, warm sand, big hearts. As I thought of her then and when I think of her now, I remember stories I heard growing up, like how when my aunt was a teen during the Second World War, she would go with my grandfather on nerve-wracking missions to some far-off farm to get food for the family when there wasn't any in the stores. And I'm thinking about how when she got cancer 15 years ago, she had this we can deal with this resilience that she brought to it. And I'm thinking about how when I became an aunt, I wanted to embody something of her strength and her warmth and her light to share with my nieces and nephew in my own way. I wondered, after watching that video, what might my 86-year-old aunt have written in a Dear 55-year-old letter to her niece. I don't know, But what I do know is that the most important thing she passed along to me was not advice anyway, but a model, or even just a presence, her light, her warmth. And for that, I am grateful. I've been thinking more about age in the last few years as a now 55-year-old, and I've been thinking about that in fresh ways too. Someone called me a baby elder this year. And on the one hand, I was taken aback because I'm pretty sure I'm still 35. On the other hand, I kind of like it. It feels like being initiated into some special, exclusive club of really wise people. Like I'm just at the beginning of something really important, like there's this whole new type of becoming ahead of me at which I am just a novice starting to explore. Whatever age any of us are today, whatever stage we are in, it does seem like life invites us to consider and explore different things at different times, whether that transition is from 6 to 7, 34 to 35, or 92 to 93. But in particular, I've been thinking about that last stage and how reflecting on that ultimate horizon can inform whatever stage we happen to be in today. And I've been thinking personally about what's in store for me, but maybe more, what's in store in me in the coming decades. The pines are taller and weigh more, the poet writes, describing the path toward that last chapter. The road is older with faded lines and unmown shoulders. You'll see a cemetery on your right and another later on your left, sobered. You drive on. Landmarks around me have been changing, sobering me as people who've been in my life, all my life, like my aunt, have been disappearing. And stretches of highway that I thought would last forever are now, I see, just stretches. My nieces and nephew are all grown up. I had a whole career in one field and am now well into another. And the backdrops of my world have been shifting: the music, the culture, and the politics. The scenery around me, around all of us, has changed over time, and it feels different too. We don't necessarily do it that much, stepping back and taking a wide-angle view of the road we're on and where it leads, even though, if all goes as we hope it will, that is where we will all eventually travel. We don't necessarily step back and gaze at the whole stretch of life from birth through the glorious living decades and right through life's awesome, mysterious, and unknowable end. We, as Lissa made mention, live in a youth-focused and performance-driven culture. We are encouraged to keep our eyes on the immediate prize, striving toward the next goal, a graduation, a marriage, a house, a job, a career, children, and then helping those children reach their goals, which in and of itself is a good thing. It's great to throw ourselves into life, to try a new graduate program, to be wholehearted, to live fully in this moment with verve and zest. And the road winds on. We cross the river many times. We set goals and we meet them. Sometimes we fail and try again. Sometimes we fail and let it be. We make friends, we build relationships, we hit rough spots, and sometimes we are able to mend our fences. We may see fields full of hawkweed and daisies. Sometimes a spotted horse will gallop along the fence. Life can be startling and beautiful. And it shifts and changes. The bridges we cross get narrower. At some point, we know that things are not always going to continue just the way they always have. The book after which this service is named, From Aging to Saging by Zalman Schachter-Shlomi, is all about that last half to a third of life, a new stage, an important, incomparable time that has, by our youth-focused culture, too often been painted instead as a diminishment, a time that, if seen primarily through a lens of production capacity, looks like little more than its absence. When we believe that what we do is more important than who we are, these crowning years can actually look like decline, and it is the rare person who is not affected by this bleak outlook. But I say no, just no, we don't have to buy that. One ought to enter old age, Abraham Joshua Heschel writes, the way one enters senior year at university, in exciting anticipation of consummation, of a high point, a peak, some realization of the essential self. What if we expected that of ourselves, and if we expected that of each other? It's a different kind of peak than the one we reached at 22, more profound, I expect, if we do it right. And doing it right begins with recognizing that the dispiriting images of aging in our culture and by association in our own heads have little to do with who we really are at any age. It begins by entertaining the possibility that some of what we consider the inevitable byproducts of aging may actually be byproducts of these disheartening messages we have internalized about aging. It's not always about the age, but what we have been led to believe that it means. The work of social psychologist Dr. Ellen Langer points in these directions. In one study, she found that memory loss, a problem often blamed on aging, could be reversed when people have good reasons to remember things. In another study, nursing home residents who had plants to take care of, as well as control over certain decisions, not only became healthier psychologically and physically, but also actually lived longer. And in a third study, and this one is my favorite, Langer and colleagues drove a group of men in their 70s and 80s to a monastery in New Hampshire and dropped them off 22 years earlier in 1959. There, they were surrounded by mid-century mementos, 1950s issues of Life magazine and the Saturday Evening Post, a black and white television, a vintage radio. During their week's retreat, the men were encouraged to think, look, act, and speak as if they were 20 years younger, to refer to their wives and children as if it was 22 years ago, and to consider their careers in full swing. The results surprised even the research team. After just 1 week, there were dramatic positive changes. The men were stronger and more flexible. Height, weight, gait, posture, hearing, vision, even their performance on intelligence tests had improved. Their joints were more flexible, their shoulders wider, their fingers more agile, and I love this part where Langer notes that by the end of the week, she was playing football, touch, but still football, with these men, some of whom gave up their canes to do it. While I am not recommending adding a senior touch football game to our South Church social calendar just yet, and while Langer herself notes that her results seem to push the limits of credibility, what I appreciate about her studies is that they remind us of some core truths about what it means to be human at any age. Like that we remember things when we have a reason to remember them, that we live longer and are happier when we have a sense of purpose and control over our lives, and that our expectations of ourselves and the expectations of others that others have of us have a huge impact on how we feel and how we experience ourselves, and may even impact our health and physical vitality. But given that moving to a monastery perennially set 50 years ago is probably not feasible nor necessarily desirable for most of us, how do we defy the conditioning? How can we realize our potential to grow wise? How can we shift our mindset from one of simply being or becoming elderly to becoming an elder? How can any of us at any age adjust the trajectory of our life to grow deeper, freer, more loving, and more present as we continue to sail towards that horizon? Rabbi Zusia of Hanipol, a great Hasidic master, posed a question shortly before his death. In the coming world, he said, "They will not ask me, 'Why were you not Moses?' They will ask me, 'Why were you not what you, Zusia, could have been?'" In that same way, each of us must grapple with the question, how can I be what I might become starting today forward? If we compare our lives to an unpolluted stream, Aging to Saging author Shlakti Shalomi writes, then in the normal course of living, the waters of self get muddied with many foreign substances. The inner work of spiritual eldering helps precipitate out many of the contaminants, making it possible for us to return to the clarity of our true natures. We become ourselves, he writes, living not as Moses or the Buddha, Jesus, or Mohammed, but as the precious, unique, non-repeatable experiments of the universe that we are. Shlakter Shalomi describes steps, stories, and offers exercises to guide and support in that book. And support is key because the journey, many of you know, is not for the faint of heart. I highly recommend that book. I understand there are even workshops and groups on spiritual eldering nationally and probably locally. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are familiar with them. Let me know if you are. But fundamentally, it takes support. It takes intention. It takes recognizing the importance of each person's contribution. And being a part of a community like this one can be a powerful antidote to isolation and discouragement. I think of the Aging with Grace group that meets here once a month. I think of all the other ways that anyone of any age can connect here. And here, it is clear, we need your experience. We need your wisdom. We need everyone's light, as together we work to create a world of justice, where we care for the earth and for each other, the world that we dream of for ourselves and for the children we love. Each one of us has so much to offer. How we do it, of course, is a journey that is ongoing and must be discerned by each of us. As spoken by one wise 93-year-old, don't listen to other people's advice. No one knows what the heck they're doing. And with that grain of salty wisdom, may we live our lives with love to guide us, cultivating light and spirit and vitality as we go. Amen. And let us join in our closing hymn, the words of which are in your order of service, and our choir will be leading us. It is called...
Let the life I lead
Yeah, exactly.
speak for me.
Let the life I lead speak for me. Please rise in body or in spirit.
And this is mostly call and response. So Kathy and I will lead it for you. There is one spot in the middle in each stanza that we sing together that reads, "When I come to the end of my road and I lay down my heavy load." So we're going to learn that first, and then we'll sing it from the beginning. When I come to the end of my road, when I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load, and I lay down my heavy load. Excellent. Let's sing that all together. When I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load. From the top. Let the life I lead, speak for me, speak for me. Let the life I lead, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load. Let the life I lead, speak for me, speak for me. Let the friends I have speak for me, speak for me. Let the friends I have speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load, let the friends I speak for me, speak for me. Let the work I do, speak for me, speak for me. Let the work I do, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load, let the work I do, speak for me, speak for me. Let the love I share, speak for me, speak for me. Let the love I share, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load, let the love I share, speak for me, speak for me. Let the life I lead, speak for me, speak for me. Let the life I lead, speak for me, speak for me. When I come to the end of my road, and I lay down my heavy load, let the life I lead,
we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Words by Reverend Andy Pakula. Deep within you, there is a place of peace, a place of wisdom, a place of love. May this sacred center be your guide. May it be your strength for the journey. May it fill you with hope when all seems hopeless. And may it lead you to know the sacredness in all. May it be so. Amen.